Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Tide, and today I'm going to be talking about Elite Dangerous. Take control of your own starship in a cutthroat galaxy. Elite Dangerous brings gaming's original open-world adventures into the modern generation with a connected galaxy, evolving narrative, and the entirety of the Milky Way recreated as its full galactic proportion. Supposedly it's supposed to be the real size of the Milky Way. I can't really tell you that. I don't know how big the Milky Way is. But one thing I can tell you is that this game looks amazing. Right off the start, this is VR compatible, so I have been looking at this game for I think the last 2 years or so, or a year and a half, give or take a little bit of time, because it is VR compatible. It's been VR compatible for a hell of a long time. And so it's always caught my eye, but I was always like, I'm not too sure about this game. I mean, Space Game sounds fun. So I put it on the back burner for a while, and it turns out almost all my friends had this damn game, and I was just missing out on the fun. There is 38 playable ships and then 6 playable fighters. I think the fighters are the things that sit in the hangars on player ships and can go out. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just reading this part off the wiki because I know there is a lot of ships. There's a whole bunch of different classes, or not classes, but different types of ships like heavies and carriers or whatever the fuck they're called. Cargo ships basically and whatnot. There's a couple different things that you can do in space, and in this game there is a reasonable amount of different things that you can do. The first one is probably you want to make money so you can buy yourself a new ship or upgrade the pre-existing ship that you do have, or acquire more ships for different tasks like mining or fighting. And like I said, the one thing that you're probably going to want to do is make some money. So you probably want to either go mining, or you want to go collect some bounties or do some trade routes. Either or. I found the most profitable being mining. So supposedly mining used to be one of the most boring things to do in this game. From what I understand, they changed it quite a bit recently. I don't know if it was recently, but they changed it quite a bit, and now it's more, I guess, realistic. Basically, you have to find yourself a gas giant with rings around it. You have to get yourself a detailed surface scanner and scan the surface of the asteroid belt around the gas giant. This will give you hot spots depending on the market, because there are websites, because the market does fluctuate on where's the best places to sell certain items. For example, I'm going after void opals, which sell for like 1.6 million at its best, and then I think 150k at its worst. Me and my buddies, which were currently doing other things, went ahead and moved systems so we could find the best market for void opals, because they were about the best yield per 1 ton, because everything in your cargo is considered 1 ton, so you only have so many slots. So you're going to want to go ahead and get the best yield out of that. Now, I could understand people not liking grinding in games. This is a game that you will have to grind a little bit, but compared to other games that I've played like Life is Feudal, Eve, and a plethora amount of games, this is like nothing compared. Like, this grind, I was surprised on how easy it was to get some of the in-game ships. Like right now, I think I put in this video, I did like 20-30 hours, and I'm rolling around in a Type 9, which is the largest cargo ship you can get in the game. I think it holds the most cargo, and I think the one I have right now is kitted out to hold 600, give or take. But it's not that hard to get money itself. It's just something you actually have to do, go out and do, is mine. Don't get me wrong, some of these ships can be excessively expensive. Now, take in consideration that each opal is sold at its best price is 1.6 million. Some of the higher end ships are going to cost you a couple $100 million, give or take, not including upgrades. Holy shit, upgrades are expensive for some ships. Tech 9, I would say, the ship itself, if memory serves me correctly, I think I spent 65 million, and then for upgrades I probably spent 100 to 150 million. So you gotta weigh that out. I spent a lot of money on my ship because I don't mind mining. I find it fun. I put on some Spotify in the background and just fucking jam out and mine. I am playing VR, so I can't really watch Netflix, but if I wasn't playing VR, I'd probably be watching Netflix, just chilling and mining. You do have to be careful though, because anyone can technically come up to you and blow you up. There are random encounters and random pirates that come into the belt every once in a while and try robbing you. Some of them will just straight up attack you. Some of them will be like, hey, drop 150k of cargo or I'll attack you in 15 seconds. I've had that happen a couple times. I killed them. It's okay. You're probably over here like, Tide, we don't care about mining. That's for chodes and cheap guys. I want to be the ones attacking the miners. I wanna get that good, and I want to collect some bounties. Maybe I want to be a pirate. Well, first you're gonna need an actual ship. And don't get me wrong, you can get bounties in a starter ship. Basically, all you would really want to do is go to a nav beacon, sit there, wait for the. Where I started, it was the Federation. You're gonna watch the Federation convoys as they fly around the nav beacon, and then they'll attack wanted people. Basically, you go in there, you get a little bit of that pie, if you know what I'm saying, and you leave and cash your bounty in. But for the higher end stuff, like right here, I have an Anaconda. It's supposedly one of the better PvE ships, combat ships. They get pricey the farther you go up, but for the upgrades themselves, there are different tiers of upgrades. Obviously, the stations really depend on how good of the quality stuff you can get. Like I said, there are websites like EBB or something like that that have market systems and places that you can type in your ship and where you're at, like the current system that you're in, so you can get the closest system to you that sells higher quality materials like A drives or thrusters or even cargo hatches, depending on what size and how many slots you have. So one of my guys went ahead and shared one of the shareable missions, and all we had to do was go kill some pirates or some Federation. I don't remember who it was, but we had to go kill some shit. So we were like, hell yeah, I'll be there in my new Anaconda Don't. And I named it Avocado because you can name your ships whatever the fuck you want without having to pay any price or anything, which is pretty cool because sometimes I just feel like ships need to be named different things. You know how it is. Like my Type 9, its name is Tech 9. But let's put that on the low. Avocado is going into battle. I feel like combat itself is pretty rounded off. The one thing that they did say that they were going to implement but never did was changing the hub color. At the moment, you can only have one color unless you go into the config file. And I don't know, one of my friends sent me a website or something that you can manually change the bars and change it, which I do plan on doing, but I haven't yet. As you can see, the hostiles are currently purple because I have not attacked, but they are attacking my squad, or my wing. That's what your squad's called. You can only have 4 people max. But like I said, the combat itself feels pretty rounded off. Sometimes it feels like one side is overall winning, but the better stuff you have, the better stuff you have. War's not fair, so battling isn't fair. You have to get yourself some of the good to actually be the good, if you know what I'm saying. If you are wondering if VR is hindering my combat, it is not. Depending on the situation, I feel like it almost gives you an advantage. Let's say I'm not using one of my fast fighters, but if I'm in my fast fighter and a hostile goes directly above me, it would be difficult to see. You would just have to use your little radar. Now with VR, all you have to do is look up. Now in the Type 9 and the ASP Explorer, ASP Explorer, those have huge ass glass bubbles, so you can basically see under you, you can see above you, and you can see basically in a whole 180 degree field of view, which I feel like is almost OP, but the combat is a big part of the game. I would say that the ships look pretty, but it's hard to tell because you're pretty far away usually while in combat, anywhere between 500 to 3,000 meters. But if you do get close to them, it looks pretty cool. You can actually see the bullet lines that you leave on vehicles and the hot laser lines that you smack them with. This dude's being a little bitch and using ECMs, but we get them anyways. So that's basically the whole combat. You do have quite a few different weapons. You have like ballistics, kinetic, thermal, shield generator, explosive, mine. So there's a whole bunch of different random weapons that you can try to use, or not try to use, but round off your playstyle with a different ship, because every ship is different, period. Now, some ships are kind of the same, but every ship has a different mobility, they have different speeds, they have different utilities, they have different hard points, which is the type of weapons. You have 3 different classes of weapons. But, yeah. Tide, you've been talking for almost 10 minutes now. What do you think about the game? Well, I feel like the game is almost complete. There are things called gold rushes that people say, and some people say that getting money itself is hard. I don't see how it's hard. I mean, a little bit of time, like an hour or 2 of grinding for mining will get you to 300 million easy. But I feel like the game is pretty good. I do wish you could have larger fleets, and I'm not 100% sure about huge ass battles, which I feel like would be a necessary thing, like fucking 30v30, even though there's not really that many people. You can join wars basically and help fight in conflict zones, which do help. But I feel like the game has an amazing aesthetic. Like, I'm about to go into this hydroponic place or whatever it's called, and it's gonna look amazing. You can see little cars drive around, you can see houses, you can see trees. It's just something that I absolutely love. And there's also ads. The only thing I feel like this game is really missing is a radio station as the biggest thing. I do put on Spotify, but still I want to hear the news, because they do have a thing where you can listen to reports and stuff, but there isn't like no news. I don't know why it's lagging so hard right here, but it is. If you're looking to get this for purely VR purposes, I would say this would be one of the must-haves, even though it is not fully VR. Usually, if you have VR, you know the struggle of playing VR games over long periods of time. If you spend more than an hour playing VR, you're usually all sweaty. Your face hurts from the headset. Sometimes with this, I think I have almost 150 hours in this game, and I was putting roughly around 7 hours a day into it, and I really didn't have to take the headset off for breaks because of like physical hurt or anything like that. I wasn't sweating. I wasn't hurting my face. It wasn't giving me a headache from like the screen being so close to my face, because it is VR. And I found that being really interesting compared to all the other fucking 75 VR games that I have. This is the very few, or I have such a very few of games that you just sit down, and this being stationary in a spaceship, I wasn't getting motion sick. I wasn't fucking, it just felt right. I don't know how to explain it. The biggest downside about this game is that the majority of the time, I wouldn't say the majority, but a hefty amount of the time is spent traveling through space, traveling one destination to another, looking at a map. But I feel like it has a solid balance of combat and just exploring the wild spaceness. Now, there are a couple things that concerned me and a couple of my other friends, is that there is a casual lack of content itself. Once you get in-game stuff, there isn't too much more for you to do. Once you kit out your ships and get engineered ships and stuff like that, I mean, yeah, you can still do the missions, but you start running out of things from what we're observing. We can only do so much until it becomes excessively repetitive, even though like right now we're just having a blast doing our own thing, mining and doing casual fighter missions. Eventually that's going to get old, and that's probably going to be one of the downsides of this. Now, this game is also single player and massive multiplayer, which is also a interesting part. Now, in my opinion, I would give it a 78 out of 100. And the biggest downside of it would be just the repetitiveness. Doing the same thing over and over again would be a huge killer to this game. And unlike, they did push out a DLC called Horizon, which lets you get ships that can, or vehicles that can land on planets and roll around the planets, which I thought was actually pretty cool. That I haven't really been able to experiment too much with, because as just starting off, I guess I could technically afford it, but it's not something that's been on my top as a priority. Now, for $30, I feel like this game is pretty reasonable. I sure as hell feel like it is worth $30 at this moment. I could see coming back to it after I get bored of it, because I do hop from game to game quite often. But I feel like it was $30 that would be well spent. Or even if it was on sale with Horizon, I would say that would be a pretty good one. Like I said, I can't speak too much for the Horizon. But at this time and moment in space and time, I feel like it is a game that me and my friends are having an absolute blast on. Let me know what you guys think about Elite Dangerous down in the comments section. And if you guys want to see more, subscribe.